We're hitting the next spot up the coast today in the 15 photos, one location series, and I've got a little bit of advice today that will help you become a more complete and well-rounded photographer. I like this bigger boat and the small boat on the side here. Only problem is I'm probably going to have to go portrait orientation for this because of the boats on the other side that I don't really want to include in the frame, but we'll see. Yeah, just take a step across so that I cut this boat on the left hand side out. F4 so that the stuff in the foreground's a little bit blurry. Nice minimal shot. And that is very nice indeed. I think anyway. I was not expecting it to be foggy today whatsoever, so it's interesting. I love it when you come out and you're expecting it to be something and then it turns out it's actually a foggy day. And I think it also opens up a lot more photo opportunities as well, because stuff that would normally look really messy in the background, a bit ugly maybe, is just shrouded in that nice nice white glow. So you can the fog always helps, I think, get you more pleasing photos. I think this little wooden boat here is pretty awesome as well. I've got to be careful though, because I could probably easily take 15 photos of boats this morning in the fog, and then very quickly I'll be labelled as the boat guy, the boat photography guy. No, I'm just kidding. I could go in for a detail actually, couldn't I, here? It's got a cool name as well, number 73. Keep going, keep walking. I'm sinking. Center frame with them. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So in the last episode of 15 photos, one location, I spoke a little bit about how I don't really plan my photography anymore. And by that I don't mean I don't plan what I'm going to photograph or have a vision in mind ever, but more so that I don't really sit at home waiting for the perfect day or the perfect conditions or all the variables to align in order to go out and take photos. Having said that in the last episode though, and then thinking about it over the last couple of weeks since I filmed that video, I got into my head, well, if I don't really prepare in terms of conditions and time of day and stuff like that, and I just have the mental outlook of just going out and taking photos, what are the things that can prepare you the most for anything that you might face on any random day at any time of the week? And I think I came up with the fact that there's technically two styles or two approaches of the actual act of taking photographs that I think you want to get really good at in order for you to be a much more rounded photographer that's prepared for whatever the day may throw at you, regardless of whether you really plan your photography days that much or whether you're a bit like me and you just grab your camera and go out and kind of have a rough idea of where you're going and maybe what the weather's doing. So the first style of photography or approach to taking photos I like to call moment photography, well, for lack of a better name more than anything. But this is where the photographer mainly acts on reflexes and spontaneous moments and timing and walking around almost like a photo hunter, waiting for the correct moment and taking the shutter at a very decisive point. For example, you're walking around in the rain, you've got your camera in your hand, you're alert, you're awake and you're ready. You spot someone walking in front of you in the rain, maybe with an umbrella up, and you know almost subconsciously that this is an interesting scene, and using your reflexes and your skill at framing images up, you're able to quickly adapt to the situation and boom, take that photo. And with those types of images, you often only have a couple of seconds to take the photo before the moment's gone and past and not going to happen again. So you do have to be really versed on quick framing and almost spotting a moment before it gets to its pivotal part of pressing the shutter. Does that make sense? Spotting a moment almost before it gets to where you want to press the shutter. You know what I mean. The second style or approach then, as I'm sure you've guessed, is a lot more slower, a lot more at your own pace, where the moment isn't dictating when you take the photo, you're dictating when you take the photo. And I call this one, again, for lack of a better name, the focused approach or focused photography. But anyway, this one's much more about noticing the significance of an image visually and really working it and arranging elements in the frame, breaking it down, using a lot of mental energy in order to make sure everything has its own place, its own purpose, and you're deciding on the decisive moment to take the photo, rather than the moment playing out in front of you and you not really having a choice of when you need to take the photo. So both of these approaches take a high level of skill. The fast-paced moment photography style that I spoke about requires you to have a subconscious knowledge of what makes a great image and what moments happening are going to make a great image as they're starting to happen and as they're happening, so you know when to take the shutter button. You've got to be really fast at changing your settings as well. If your settings have been on something previously from a photo you took up the road or something like that, and you just need to be basically as precise as possible in that moment. And then the slower, precise, more focused approach to photography requires a lot of patience. It requires you to really work a scene, stick around, not get frustrated. Like I say, line up the elements, wait for the correct moment that you think is going to benefit the photo the most, and not just get there, click the shutter, and then walk off looking for more photos. This one requires a lot of willpower. Really awesome example of framing here, finding shots that you can fit inside a frame within your frame. Let me try and I can't see the LCD from here very well, but if you see in the left hand side of that boat, we've got the boat behind it that sits in that L shape. Obviously would be even cooler if that was like a complete square that you could see through or something, but just having it situated there gives it a little bit of more purpose, a little bit more. When you look at it, you think that's been positioned there super nicely. So I'm going to come forward enough that that boat gets quite high in the shot. Take a step this way perhaps. Just those little tweaks and stuff that you can make that make a frame just feel a lot more creative and purposeful. Me saying I'm moving on from photographing boats, come round one corner and find more boats. I'm sorry, but you just can't not, can you? You just can't not? Yeah, that's right. Love this right here with all the boats leading up the frame. Nice and colourful as well. I believe round this corner there's a boardwalk type situation. There's a pallet on there which isn't very aesthetic, but then there's, oh, it's a pallet. I thought there were ladders on that side. It's still quite pleasing though. We're going to want to focus in the background this time. God, I really love this sort of overexposed, sort of foggy overexposed, super bright type of shot. Possibly nailed it? Yes, I think we nailed that one. See, this sort of like crisscrossy water leading up to that boat in the background I think is really cool. Great leading line. But then the sunrise boat on the left is just kind of in the way, but I might be able to get it out. Problem is, the closer I go in to get that boat out the way, the more and more of this line I lose from the shot. So I can go up to like here to get it out, but then the line just almost completely disappears. So maybe we do try and incorporate the boat, just because I can't really get it out of the shot while using this line at the same time. So if I shoot from up here, the mound over there overlaps with the boat. If I drop down, the mound gets completely hidden behind the boat. I can then use this water that's leading up down there to lead us to the boat in the background, and this sunrise boat sits on the left nicely. It's a little bit big and bulky in the frame, so I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it, but I'm definitely taking this shot. So let's dip down to about here to cut that mound out. These two approaches to taking photos obviously lend themselves to different genres of photography better than they do others. So the fast moment style photography fits in line with street photography very, very well. And obviously the slower, more arranged style fits with landscapes more. But the reason why I say it's really important if you want to become a well-rounded photographer or somebody who's prepared for everything in photography is because there's been so many moments when I've been out taking slow landscape photos, for example, and it has been required of me to then switch over and get that fast moment style photograph. Likewise, there's been many times when I've been out in the city and I've come across a scene that requires me to really slow down, arrange things properly, wait for something to happen, wait for light to hit it, and just spend a lot more time there figuring it all out and making sure the shot is the shot rather than something that's done too quickly and messy. These two approaches do tend to complement each other as well. Now granted, you could just hate one of those approaches to taking photos, and that's absolutely fine. You carry on going down your own lane and you don't have to take my advice, but in my opinion it will only do good things for you and your photography if you get really good at doing them both. And maybe you haven't tried one of these approaches yet. Maybe you're somebody that's always taken nice, slow, planned photos, or maybe you're someone that's only ever shot fast moving moments that are fleeting and stuff like that. So I do think give them both a go. I do think get really good at them. You don't want to be a one-sided photographer. You want to be well-rounded, that's prepared for everything, and never miss those shots when it comes to which one might crop up on a day-to-day basis. Having said all that, I'm back where I've started now. I'm parked just over there, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll leave the playlist to 15 photos, one location right up here. There's 6 other episodes. This is number 7. Go watch them if you're interested, if you've got time, but if not, come chat to me in the comments for a little bit. I'm always replying to the comments, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.